Hey, podcasters!
Hello.
Welcome to Read, Watch, and Wine. I'm Treva.
I'm Raya.
Champagne.
And Lynn.
And welcome to our latest episode of the podcast. And we're reviewing is a oldie but goodie. It is The Devil Wears Prada by
Lauren Weisberger.
Thank you, Champagne. And I just would like to point out that this is Champagne's pick.
No, it's not.
It is.
Yeah,
It
you
is?
picked The Devil Wears Prada, yeah.
No wonder I was excited about it. I don't remember.
So yeah, this book has been around for a while, and the movie has been out for a while. But before we get into the adaptation, Ray, you want to talk about what we're drinking?
Oh, sorry, got caught up drinking. Help me out, Lynn.
It's a Vin Noir from Cooper's Hawk.
Yes, Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant. It's California Red. Very, very. I don't really like the dry, but I mean, we're halfway there. So
We drank that the other night. It was delicious.
It really
yeah,
is.
it is. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Sunday.
It says it's rich black fruit flavors. So dark-skinned grapes.
Why they gotta be dark skinned?
Because they are. Dark-skinned
Black of the berry.
It says they come from some of the darkest skinned grapes on the planet. This inky blend is packed with a rich black fruit flavors.
That should be
So interesting because I don't typically like this type of wine and not slowing down. So go ahead, Treva, do it again. Do my biggie.
The black of the berry. That's Tupac, though.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Tupac. Sorry.
Wrong coast.
I don't know why I was thinking, and it's so funny because I was thinking to myself, Treva got to hit Tupac at some point. My biggie came out.
Wrong coast.
You know that's right. Nobody.
That's because she's a cracker all day long. All day long.
So anyway, thanks for that, Rhea. So y'all ready to jump into this?
Yes.
Now this is a book because it's been around for a while. I think most of us actually saw the movie before we read the book, right?
150 times, yes.
Yeah. So reading the book was so interesting to me, and I absolutely loved the book. I loved the book so much because it just went into so much more detail about the story, and I like the book better than the movie.
I had recommended, so I'm not really not like this genre type of person, but I recommended this book to everybody. I was like, look, if you love this movie, read the book because the book is so much better than the movie. And I absolutely loved the book. I mean, I love the movie from before, but I loved the book. I love the ad libs and the alliteration on other characters that weren't really addressed in the movie. And so for me, it was I got the before, the during with Andy, and then the current, and then even with the after with Andy. So I loved all that in the book.
Right. Every character had a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about the book.
I was going to say, it's almost, I don't know if volume is the right word, but the book gave the movie, for me, more volume. I mean, the book more than the movie gave the whole story, the whole thing more volume.
Wasn't as superficial.
Yeah, it wasn't as superficial. It wasn't as choppy once you actually read the book.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I still love the movie. I like the book, but I still love the movie for some reason. I don't know. I guess I love fashion in general, so. But I just felt okay, all of this, you're talking about going here and getting this and all this Donatello and Chanel. And I'm just okay, can we move on? So I like that they cut some of the things out that they had in the book. But
you're saying it was too much fashion talk in the book?
It's too much, yeah. Well, I get it though. But I also felt that they could have put some things that was in the book in the movie also to kind of round it out. But I don't know. I still love the movie, and I'm thinking maybe because I saw the movie first. Because if I would have saw it vice versa, I wouldn't have. I probably feel the same way.
You've been complaining. Why they take this out and this out and make this change?
Yeah, because it was too much. It was so much. It was so much removed from the book. Yeah. That to me, the two don't even relate. I mean, it's like a distant cousin. And that's kind of why I say I like the book better, because it gave so much more meaning to the story. It was just like, in the movie, you're like this. You don't really know anything. And you don't really feel the connections of everybody the way you feel it in the book.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how the characters get along with each other. Like in the book, you had the previous story about how they traveled around Europe together and how Andy got dysentery and they all like learned to bond on like an equal like plane. And then once they became into their like New York City jobs, Lily went buck wild and became like sleeping with everybody that we know in the book, which I was like, I wanted that side of Lily also. And then her Alex, like he was like, into like a teacher, which was like very like heartwarming in the book versus like in the show, like in the movie, like a chef, it was kind of rough. So I was like, okay. And then you got to see how the three of them like cohesively became one.
Yep.
But the movie, it was like, oh yeah, these people are kind of like put in New York City and they're like just friends because you have no idea why they're friends. But in the book, you're like, you got to see why like these eclectic group of people were friends, and then they became one unit. So that's what
I just think like you said, it's two different stories or two different
like views.
Yeah, well, technically, yeah, two totally different views. I think that the book mainly focused on Andy and her relationships and her job. The movie, to me, focused more on Andy trying to be better at her job and getting to know Miranda. Like it was all about fashion in the movie to me. All about her.
And Miranda got more of a story in the movie also, right?
Right. Exactly.
So I agree with you. I like the perspective of Andy's relationships. Like, I'm so disappointed in the Lily, just because none of her backstory got in there. And I just thought that was critical because of her upbringing. And it also really demonstrated the strain that this job put on two people that were so close.
Yep.
And I agree with you, Lynn, the boyfriend, like, he was such a kind-hearted, understanding person in the book that you're just like, I want him as my man. I mean, everything was just so kind. And not that he was mean in the movie, but they just didn't show enough of that. And you just didn't see, like you said, the bond and the relationships. And then for Miranda, like the fact that the movie had to demonstrate that this powerful woman couldn't possibly keep a marriage together and keep a career. Right. And went down that whole path of like removing her from her position because she's older and, all of that stuff kind of annoyed me because that wasn't in the book at all, but it was still a great story in the book. But you didn't have to take away the fact that she was able to maintain a happy household because in the book, her husband, I got the impression that he saw a different side of her than what she presented at work. So she had a great household, a loving household. And so that just annoyed me because I feel like it fed into this whole stereotype of, women not being able to maintain a career and a marriage and, getting booted out of their positions because they get older. And I don't know. I don't like that twist at all.
For me, two things on your point. With Lily, I feel like with Lily, Lily wasn't the same person at all from the book to the movie. So I don't think they could have added that backstory unless they would have went back to the book because she was successful. She was an art person and had this gallery or showed her work at the gallery and all that stuff or whatever. And with Miranda, they did show her as, in the book as this loving, because she had so many assistants. So she could make time and get off at a 9 to 5 and be home in time for her husband and dinner and kids and stuff. So I think that was the difference also.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's probably why I think as well that the book means a lot more to me, because personally, I've gone through that in my own experience. At work, I'm rough and I'm real rough at work to the point where we had a coworker get married, and there was a lot of coworkers that a coworker's son got married, and we were invited to the wedding. So Cree and I went to the wedding, and at those things they always want to sit you with the people you know. So I was seated at a table with a bunch of people I work with, which is okay. But one of the gentlemen that was at the table with us, God rest his soul, because I believe he has passed now, but he leaned over and he said, "You look so much better off work." And I was like, eh. And then he said something to Cree, and he was just like, wow, I was thinking it had to be a strong man to deal with her, but gosh, she's so different at home than she, I like this side of Rhea better. I'm like, yeah, okay, because you ain't trying to make me do something illegal. So then I, wanted to triple on him in the middle of this daggone, reception. Like, do what? What? Wait a minute. But it's very, to me, it's very, it hit home, because I thought to myself, God, the one thing that actually was really good about this, there was a strong woman who was able to do what she needed to do and be successful in both areas, and they took that away. But I guess it's a sign of the times when that movie was made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in the book, like at her brother-in-law's engagement party, she was like loved by everybody, and people were like fawning after her, versus like intimidated in the movie. It was like, oh my God, Miranda's here. Like, what's her name? Like, it wasn't like that. In the book, it was like, oh, like Miranda's here. She's successful. She's a powerful woman. It gave a different standpoint to Miranda. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
women are itches and
exactly.
and aggressive and blah 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 blah. That's probably why this was never a movie that I actually liked. But I definitely like the book better.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why like they changed like the schools they went from, whether it was like Brown versus Northeastern. Like it just like things like that, it did not make sense to me. Like why they changed schools, and also with Alex and his career. So like those small differences, I don't really understand why they made those differences, because like schools, I mean, they're both Ivy League schools. I don't understand why they changed those. So like that did not make sense to me at all.
Now you sound like champagne.
I know. I was gonna say it's a lot of changes that I didn't like. In the book, they said Andy was blonde. Her driver kept calling her, or the dispatcher for the driver kept calling her, "Hey, Blondie," and I was like, "Wait."
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, they kept calling her Blondie. And my biggest disappointment in this movie, other than it's not being related to the book at all, was Nigel. Like, I am obsessed with Nigel in the movie. Love him to death. I love him as an actor in general, Stanley Tucci. But he was almost non-existing, except for when he walked in a room a couple of times, all flair. Yeah, and they took that completely out. Well, not completely out. He was non-existent for the most part in the book. Versus the movie, he was Andy's go-to. He was everywhere. So, and not to mention the difference in appearance, because Nigel was apparently, she described him as like 7 foot tall, muscular and huge, and this little short man Walden. So it's just like, wow. So there's a lot of little changes and one thing I would have loved to have seen is how compassionate Andy really was too, like sticking it to the man kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to Starbucks. She would give the homeless, buy all the homeless coffee. So she was like, yeah, this is my way of sticking it to them for having me work so hard or whatever on the company's money. So I would have loved to see that in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. There was just so much about her personality and her ways that I love. And I don't know, her parents, did they even exist in the movie? No.
Her dad did.
Oh, that's right, when they were going to the play to see Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
But
her dad, her mom, her sister. I wish that was.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to talk about the cast? rewatchwine.com, our website.
And Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rewatch Wine.
Or just dang Google us, because if you put it in, we the only ones that come around.
All right, see y'all next time around, and try to keep up.
Thanks for listening, watching, clicking, subscribing.